off your engine!
Tommy L says, Scotty, big fan. I know you say turbocharged engines aren't ideal to say the least, but my mom's getting a 2021 Bronco, and it's not out. So you've never worked on one. I'm wondering what you think of the 4 or 6 cylinder engine is better in the long run. Thanks. Definitely get the 6 cylinder engine, because I see the Fords that have those turbocharged 4 cylinder engines having all kinds of problems as they age. I have customers that own Ford Explorers, and they made the mistake. Instead of getting the 6, they got the turbocharged 4. And even before they're 100,000 miles, the engines started to have problems. These are people that change their oil regularly like they're supposed to, not somebody who beats it up, doesn't change the oil. You put a 4-cylinder engine in a heavier, bigger vehicle, and somebody gets a Bronco, they're probably going to toy around with a lot, give it a lot of gas. The 6-cylinder engine is going to hold up longer than a 4-cylinder engine. That's just common sense. Don't get a big vehicle with a really small engine, because not only will it wear out faster, but the gas mileage ratings that you get are a load of BS. You drive a big vehicle with a 4-cylinder engine hard, you'll actually get better gas mileage with the 6-cylinder than the 4, because it's straining the 4, but it's not straining the 6. And I see that all the time in my customers' vehicles. If you, say, want to tow stuff, always get the big engine. Don't get the small engine, because when you tow, it strains the small engine too much. Talk about cats. Well, not this cat. Catalytic converters. It's a story that I just can't believe. It turns out some Toyota Prius owners are asking to have their Priuses recalled because people are stealing the catalytic converters off of the cars. And they're very expensive on the Priuses. Some of them, the entire job can be as much as $5,000. People steal them because there's precious metals in them, and then they sell the catalytic converters. They don't get all that much money for them because there isn't all that much precious metal in them, but, you know, people steal them. So some of these Prius owners are now wanting Toyota to recall them because people are stealing them. They say, oh, well, they need to put some anti-theft measure on the catalytic converter. This shows what's happened to our society. People no longer take personal responsibility for anything. A company makes a really nice looking car, so people steal them. What are those people going to do? Sue the company to say, you made the car too nice, so somebody stole it from me? It's getting to be ridiculous. You can put covers on them. There's a company that does that. It's basically a giant shield that goes up there so they can't get to it. But let me tell you something. If it's a professional thieves, those guys are going to have oxyacetylene torches. They can cut anything like that off, too, if they want to. I don't know. Our society's got to a point of absurdity. The people are buying a car, then they're complaining about the manufacturers because people are stealing parts off of it. What are you going to do? Sue the tire companies because they put tires on rims that people steal? It's really getting to a point of absurdity. And to me, it's rather hilarious that it's the Toyota Prius owners that are the ones that are doing, because, I mean, everybody's got this image of Prius owners, tree huggers in that ride. Well, now they think that, hey, the universe revolves around them and everybody should take care of them, and they shouldn't have to take care of their own car so somebody doesn't steal parts off of it. Put a better alarm on so when they jack it up, the alarm will go off. Don't blame the manufacturer because people are stealing parts off your car. I mean, it's gotten to a point of absurdity, but that's how absorbed people are with themselves these days. Some people actually think that this is something that they should do, that Toyota should reimburse them for. I don't know. The world's gone insane. Mitsubishi One says, Scotty, I got a rattling noise on startup on a 1998 Toyota Camry 4-cylinder. I checked everything I could see. It seems to come from the inside of the engine, but it goes away when it warms up. Help. Odds are you need a timing belt. The timing belt's made out of rubber, and as they wear, they stretch, and then they rattle because the belt flops, and then it hits the timing belt cover. Or the water pump inside is worn out, and then that's going to rattle too. Odds are, you hear it come from inside the engine, pull off the timing cover, and then start it up. You don't have to take everything off, just the plastic part. And you see the belts flopping around, change the belt, and with that kind of age and mileage, I'd probably change the water pump too. Probably the tensioner pulley. I'd change all the parts when you're in there, because if you don't, eventually it'll break. Now, it's not an interference engine, so if you don't care, you can continue to drive it, and if the belt finally snaps, it isn't going to hurt anything. The car will just stop running, because it's a non-interference engine. All the new ones have timing chains. They're different, but that one's old enough. It still has a timing belt on it. John 3 says, if I wanted to buy a car from a dealer, would they or should they let me do a relative compression test in the car lot? After watching your video, it looks pretty simple. Well, yeah, it's simple if you got a simple engine. If everything's open, sure, go ahead. You know, they might not let you do it, and if you don't, just say, I'm not going to buy the car. Generally, they don't like people messing around with stuff like that. But say, hey, I want to test it by my mechanic, and maybe bring your friend and say, my friend's a mechanic, he's going to test it, whatever. And if they don't, just walk. But On a lot of cars, it's not that easy anymore. Take like a lot of the V6 designs. The front three are in the front by the radiator in most of them, and they're easy to get to, but the back three, you got to take the intake manifold, and that's going to take you 4 or 5 hours. So they're not going to let you do that in the parking lot. But let's say it's a Toyota Corolla with 4 cylinders. It takes you, 15 minutes you could do it. It's no big deal. And if they don't let you, hey, go someplace else that will. Or just say you're going to bring it to your mechanic. Then leave their lot and check it someplace else. Do it, do it at home and then bring the car back. Olaf Meister says, I got a 93 Honda Prelude, 4-wheel steering. I bought this car 6 weeks ago. Everything's fine, but the AC doesn't work. The compressor's new. It doesn't make any noise when it comes on. It's filled with refrigerant, but it has no cold air. Let me tell you something. I got a customer bought that same exact car, right? He's already spent over $2,000 on that AC system. The problem with the Preludes are they were good cars, but their AC system was unique only to the Preludes. The Preludes used a different system than the Honda Accords did, even though they were very similar cars. I could not find a new compressor for his Prelude. So he kept buying these rebuilt ones, and they were absolute junk. He ended up buying a used one from a junkyard, and that one actually worked. But we had to change the condenser, we had to change the evaporator, we had to take the whole car apart. You get an old car like that, you're probably going to spend more fixing the AC than you paid for the whole car. That's the unfortunate thing. And since it is a Prelude, it was just an oddball car. And according to Honda, when I tried to find certain parts, they said they're obsolete. We don't make them anymore. So if you're going to buy a used Honda, you're probably better off getting an Accord than a Prelude, because the Preludes were kind of oddball, and there's a lot of parts that you can't get from them anymore. XL200 says, Scotty, I remember years ago I rented a 2013 Chevy Cruze, and the middle seat belt wouldn't buckle. Is this common in all cars, or more of a GM thing? More of a GM thing. Their quality control is just... I realize, the Chevy Cruze is one of the worst vehicles that they ever made. I had a customer with one, and he put a Mickey Mouse picture on the back window, and I said, why do you have Mickey Mouse in the back of your car? He said, because I'm telling everybody it's a Mickey Mouse car. He had been through 2 automatic transmissions. He got them fixed under warranty, but then it was going out again and it wasn't in warranty anymore. I said, when it finally goes, just junk the stupid thing. And he said, yeah, I should have spent the extra money and bought a Toyota Corolla, but I was stupid because he had owned a Toyota Corolla before and he got rid of it when it had like 400,000 miles. Then he bought this Cruze, and in less than 60,000 miles, he went through 2 automatic transmissions. So it's more of a GM lack of quality thing than anything else. Tommy L says, Scotty, we just bought a 2012 Audi Q7 3.0 V6 TDI, 70,000 miles. What are some good tips to keep it in good shape and running long? Don't drive it much. Okay, it's a TDI, so it's a diesel engine. Now, the Germans make pretty good diesel engines. The gasoline Audis have all kinds of problems. They're too complicated. There's all kinds of crap. Diesels are simpler. They can last a long time. Change your oil regularly. It's a diesel. Diesel fuel is part of a lubricant. But still, on that thing, I would change the oil and filter on the thing every 5,000 to 7,000 miles religiously. Do that, and don't listen to the Audi crap where they'll say, oh, well, we just suck the oil through the dipstick. You don't need to take the bottom off. BS. Take the drain plug off the engine when you have the oil change. Don't just get it sucked out with the suction in the dipstick, because crud in the bottom of the engine is going to stay there. You have it done right. The diesels are better than gasoline. You made a good choice there, but overall, Audis are in those money pits as they age. That thing's now 9 years old. Just baby it. You only got 70,000 miles, which is nothing for a diesel engine. It's not the engines in those that have problems, it's everything else. But at least it's not a gasoline Audi, which would have been a real money pit. CMC 2000 says, Scotty, on my 2014 Nissan Rogue, every time my wife turns hard to the right and hits a dip, it makes a rubbing and grinding sound. Can only be heard on the driver's side. Calling this a crappy vehicle makes me feel better, so you can insult it as much as you want. Yeah, well, Rogue. I gotta tell you, you bought a Rogue. Well, it's being Rogue to you. All right, you hear a grinding noise. That means something's grinding somewhere. So what you want to do is jack it up on that side and look and see if there's any rub marks, because when things grind, often you'll see rub marks and you'll see what it is. Let's say the strut is really worn out. You hit a big bump, well, then it's going to grind on stuff and you're going to see things rubbing because the strut isn't absorbing the shock, it's just banging up and down. Check the strut mount, check the strut to see if it's leaking oil. If you can't find any rub marks or anything and you do hear a grinding sound, it could easily be the outer CV axle. And I've seen them snap off on Nissans because they're so poorly made. In that case, it's enclosed and you can't see it. But let's say you jack it up and you see the CV axle on the outside, the boot is ripped and the grease is out, then you know it's time to replace it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.